Alright, so in this video I'm going to talk about a recent Bashar session called No More Secrets, because I believe this is an important concept to understand in the time we're in now and in the years ahead. And I'm going to recap briefly what he said first, and then I'm going to offer my take on this subject. So basically he says that in the coming time now, if you have a consequential secret, meaning that it would hurt people if it was exposed, this secret will most likely be exposed. So he's recommending people who have that kind of a secret, and he doesn't really give any examples, but you can think like if you have a family and you live together and you're basically unfaithful or something like that. That's a kind of secret that would hurt your family and your kids. And so anyway, he says that if you discontinue the behavior that is causing the secret in the first place, it will not be exposed and you will not be hurt by this. But you have to discontinue the behavior right now as soon as possible, basically, to avoid being exposed. And if people try to expose your secret even after you have discontinued the behavior, it will backfire on them instead. So it will not be exposed. Nobody will be hurt from the secret if you discontinue the behavior. And so this is something to consider. I mean, I don't have any kind of a secret like that in my life, at least, but if you have, you should really consider this, because nothing is going to be hidden anymore in the years ahead, because we are becoming more and more transparent as a civilization and as a mass consciousness, because the mass consciousness level is now in the higher 400s, which it has been for a while, and this means that a lot of stuff is coming up to the surface. All sorts of negativity is being processed out, and this is not only on the personal level but also on the global, on the world stage. And we are already seeing this with the whole Doge department, who is auditing these different departments in the government, basically everything, and they already discovered a massive fraud and schemes going on with this USAID, AID, whatever it's called, USAID department, who has been engaging in all sorts of fraudulent funding of media all over the world, basically making the media biased for the left and anti-Trump, basically funding all these NGOs and operations and whatnot going on across the world, all to prop up this leftist agenda, like artificially. And what you have to realize is that the leftist agenda is never coming back. The Democratic Party is never coming back in the current and in the form it used to have before. They have to completely do everything from scratch and start over again, because they have no chance with all this fraud being exposed now in only a couple of weeks. And imagine what will happen in the next coming years. I mean, so much has happened already in 2 weeks. I mean, think about it. You have to realize this. If you're a leftist, or you identify with that side, it's never coming back. Okay, it was all artificially propped up by the deep state, and the deep state is basically run by the collective shadow, or the negative ego, collective negative ego, right? They are agent of that. So they have been propping up all this with artificial funding that should have never have been there in the first place, and it's basically all over for them. And Bashar actually predicted this. If you remember, many years ago now, then he said that in 2020, this was supposed to start in 2020, but it has been postponed for 5 years because not enough people were awake enough to understand and handle what is now coming out. But now we have reached enough people who are awake and aware of what's going on because of the Q operation, all the QAnon and all that stuff. So now enough people are awake, and now we can finally get started for real. And Bashar predicted this. He said that in 2020 you will have a completely new makeover of the whole government, and you will have a tax reform that will spread across the globe. And the tax reform, Trump is basically talking about abandoning the whole income tax. So that's a major development, and also something Bashar predicted, that it would be a major tax reform and major overhaul of the whole government. And he also said that there will only be one party left in the US, basically. And that's because the Democratic Party is basically done for. They can't recover from any of this, because they have been propped up artificially with illegal funding and all sorts of propaganda from the media, and all that is being exposed now, and the funding is being cut from. And this is just a small beginning of it. It's going to go a lot deeper, I think, and they're going to audit all the departments, including Pentagon and the CIA and everything. So it's going to be massive, and there is going to be massive changes to everything. And here is my take on it. That is the key takeaway of this video. If you are identified with the left and you're anti-Trump, that means that you're keeping a lot of negativity a secret to yourself. That's what it basically means. And there is an overlap, because basically 50% of those who follow Bashar, for example, they are left-leaning and anti-Trump. I calibrated this with my dosing rods to check, but that makes sense too. I mean, around 50, there's a 50-50 split in the Bashar community. So basically the problem is that there is an overlap between leftism and spirituality in a sense. What I call feel-good spirituality. That means you identify with being spiritual, and that means you sort of feel good on the surface because now you're special, now you're better than other people, and now you're this and that, and you wear weird clothes, and you burn your incense, and you do your little meditations and whatnot, and you think you can feel good on the surface because you are doing the right stuff and you're a good person, but you haven't really looked at your own negativity, so you're projecting all that onto a perceived other side, or the Trump camp, basically, or the MAGA people. There are so many people who do this. They have this feel good mentality, and the same is with leftism. You think you're better than other people because you're fighting for the so-called right causes and whatnot, and you think you're very humanitarian and all these things, right? But then again, you're projecting all your negativity onto the other camp, the other side. And anybody who's caught in this paradigm is still in kindergarten, basically, because that's a really low-level paradigm to be caught up in. Okay, so if you're into spirituality and into Bashar and these things, and you're caught in that paradigm of blaming or putting your negativity onto a perceived enemy or other side, or whatever, then you're basically not as high level as you think, and you're keeping your negativity a secret to yourself. And this is going to be a problem in the coming time, because as Bashar says, there is no more secrets, including secrets you have for yourself. And he didn't talk about this specifically. This is just my take on it. And what I think is going to happen is that more and more of this negativity is going to force itself up in people, and this might take many people by surprise, especially if you haven't handled any kind of real negativity in your system before, like people who actually do the real inner work have, like me, and people who follow what I teach. They have actually done real inner work. It's not about feel good spirituality. It's about actually doing the inner work and dismantling all the negativity and integrating stuff, right? That's what it is about, and that's what Bashar actually is teaching also. But many people, they just cherry pick what he's saying. They just take small snippets of information and they create their own little religion out of it. That's what many people who follow Bashar do. And one of the main things they cherry pick is the whole idea that you create your own reality. So you can't really reason with these people. It's like religious people. You can't talk them out of it. You can't reason with them because they will just say no, I believe this and this and this. It's the same with these Bashar people who do this. They just say, oh, okay, I create my own reality. Okay, I create my own reality. They say that like a mantra, and it's like, you can't reason with such people because they always repeat that. It doesn't matter what you say because they create their own reality, and that's what they think they do. And although it's true that in one sense you do create your own reality, but not in the way that it's not a make-believe. Like these people think they can just make-believe their own reality. Like nothing matters in the real world. Like they can just make-believe everything. It's like basically what you do when you're 10 years, 5 years, 6 years old or something. Like it's like childish, basically. And that's what many of these people, these feel-good spirituality people do. And they're in for a big surprise when this negativity starts to bubble up to the surface, and they have no real experience actually handling these things. And that's what I teach on this channel, how to deal with, because that's what it really is about. It's not about feel good, because that's surface. That's just an identity and nonsense on the surface. You can't really feel good without cleaning out your negativity, and that's going to be impossible to not do, I believe, at least in the coming years. Because if you can't have any more secrets, that means keeping the negativity repressed and a secret to yourself because you want to feel good on the surface. It's not going to fly anymore in the coming time. So you better learn quickly how to deal with your negativity, and I have videos about this in an ebook also, and how to really go deep and dig in and actually deal with real negativity instead of trying to present yourself as a spiritual person in the way you talk and look and whatnot. That doesn't really matter. Okay, it doesn't matter how much you meditate if you never face any negativity, because that's what meditation is all about, really. It's about opening Pandora's box and allowing this negativity to come up in you, and that's how you progress up the scale of consciousness. And if you're new to all this, if this information is somehow new to you, or you're triggered by this, or you don't believe it or whatever, then that's up to you. But if you think you're high level and spiritual, and then you're blaming and you're anti-Trump and you hate Trump and all half the country basically, or more than half the country, then you have a problem. You're not as high level as you think you are. You're caught in a false paradigm paradigm of them, us versus them, and you don't see the bigger picture of what's going on. That Trump is, and now Elon Musk also, and these people are just agents of the change that would have happened anyway, and that Bashar predicted would happen. He said everything would start to change in 2016, end of 2016, and then Trump won, and things started to change, but then we needed to have a break with because the leftist side got completely crazy because of this. They couldn't handle it, and not enough people were awake to handle the real changes that are now coming. But now we have more than enough people are awake, so now it's going to all happen. And these are the changes that Bashar predicted, that everybody has been working towards. And if you are somehow resisting these changes, or in resistance to reality because you don't like Trump's personality, that means you're really missing the big picture, because Trump is just an agent, and the most visible agent of these changes. What really has changed is the level of mass consciousness, which is now in the higher 400, and that's what's causing the mirror of reality to reflect that higher level back to everybody, basically manifest a new world based on that higher level. So that's what really causing the changes. And whatever agent of the changes, it doesn't matter who is the agent of the change. It doesn't matter his or her personality. It doesn't matter. What matters is that these changes are finally happening, that we've all been waiting for, right? This is what we have been working towards. You can't have a golden age if you don't process out all the negativity and corruption in the deep state government, because that's what is blocking everything on the 3D level, right? You first change everything on the higher level, and then it manifests in the 3D, and then you have agents of that manifestation of those changes, and Trump is just one of those agents. Elon Musk is now a new agent of these changes, and now suddenly everybody is hating, or left side is already starting to hate on Elon Musk, just because he's exposing all this corruption, and suddenly he's the bad guy, he's the new Hitler, and he's this and that, right? It's ridiculous. If you're caught in this, you are not high level of consciousness. You're most likely below the threshold to be part of the ascending earth, which is 330 on the scale, or a little bit more positive or integrated than negative. If you're actually triggered by Trump and these people, you have a massive problem you have to look into, is your own negativity. He's triggering your negativity that you have keeping a secret to yourself. That's what Trump is triggering people. There's nothing to do with him. It's everything to do with you and your negativity. And if you can't handle that, and if you don't know how to deal with that, you can check other videos on my channel or my ebook. But if you think you can hate on him and hate more than half the country and think they're basically insane because you are right, then you are most likely in the wrong. You're basically insane yourself. You're living in a bubble. You don't see the bigger picture because you don't have high enough level of consciousness to see the bigger picture yet. But you can if you actually do the inner work and stop keeping the negativity a secret to yourself, and admit that everybody is corrupted, including you. You can't escape being corrupted and negative on this planet. When you're born into this planet, you take on a lot of negativity, like everybody, and the whole game is about dismantling, integrating, and removing and debugging yourself from that negativity as best you can. That's the whole earth game. But first you have to admit that you have that negativity, and that's the problem on the left side and on the feel-good spirituality people. They can't admit to themselves that they have the negativity because they are scared of facing it, and they're scared that it will make them feel depressed and whatnot if they admit it, so they keep a lid on everything. And that way they stagnate, and they never progress, they never increase the level of consciousness, no matter what they do on the surface and how it looks. You can look as spiritual as you want to other people and whatnot. It doesn't really matter because you're not doing the inner work. And people who actually do the inner work have no interest in looking spiritual or anything like that. That's for people who trying so hard to be propped up by other people, seeing them in a certain way, and that's not really what it is about. So this video is basically a little bit of a rant about these kind of people in the spiritual communities, and on the leftist side there is an overlap between these kind of mentalities, because many people use spirituality as an escape and to feel good, just like a religion. People become religious because they can say, okay, I believe in a certain set of words, so now I'm a good person, I'm saved. That means since I'm a good person, by definition, since I'm saved, I have a license to project all my negativity onto perceived enemies and other people who don't believe the same as me or whatever. That's the world history in a nutshell, okay? If you're caught in that kind of mentality, you are not high level, and you're not you're part of the problem. You're not contributing to the solution, and the solution is to increase your level of consciousness and get up the scale, so you basically transcend out of that paradigm of left versus right, or whatever dualism you're caught up in, because that's not what it is about. You have to see humanity as one organism, and that's what you do on a higher level. So this is just a warning to people who follow Bashar and whatnot. If you have zero experience with actually healing negativity inside yourself, now is the time to start, because it's going to get really difficult or tough when all this stuff is forced up in you and you have no experience or understanding of how to deal with it. So you can check my ebook or other videos on how to do that.